we had a really hard time actually having Vito. We had a lot of loss, a lot of struggles in terms of getting and staying pregnant.
Fala galera, se você está vendo esse vídeo é porque você está no canal da G-Fight. Aqui estão todos os cortes do Direto de Vegas, que é o nosso podcast. E o link para o episódio completo está na descrição desse vídeo. Assim como o link, o nosso próprio link da 1xBet, a nossa patrocinadora oficial. Primeira patrocinadora a acreditar no nosso projeto. Então se você quiser fazer uma apostinha com responsabilidade e dar uma moral pra gente, use o nosso link aqui na descrição desse vídeo.
And the reason I want to talk about NFL, because I don't know if the Brazilian fans, they know you because of your UFC. UFC is way bigger in Brazil than NFL. But you also cover NFL.
Yeah.
Could you explain to me, when did you start covering professionally and how does it work? Because NFL season is so short. And how do you handle doing UFC at the same time?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I've been covering the NFL for almost 10 years. And basically what happened is the UFC had a television deal in the United States with Fox. And one of the years, I got a phone call from one of the executives at Fox, and I love the leadership at Fox. They're the best of the best. And they called me and they said, hey, we actually have a spot open. Would you want to be a sidelines reporter for an NFL game? I'm like, yeah. But I wasn't sure if the UFC was going to allow it because it's at the same time. NFL season, for those watching who might not know, starts at the beginning of September officially and ends the regular season in the middle of January, then the playoffs, and then, of course, the Super Bowl is in February. So it's 18 weeks in a row of football and before the playoffs start. And so I basically waited outside Dana White's office for a couple of hours until he had free time. And I just said, hey, I got offered this opportunity. Can I do it? And he just said, like, fuck yeah, And so that it's been ever since, he gave his approval and I've been able to do it ever since. And it's crazy. So my first game was a Giants game, which was amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was so great. And then basically they told me, like, as long as you do a good job, we'll continue to find opportunities for you. So I think that first year I probably did like maybe around 5 games. Some years I did more, some years I did less. And then for the past 3 years, I've been doing a full season. So that will mean, like, for instance, we have our pay-per-view in Los Angeles in September. UFC 331, and I will do that event, and then the next morning, because I have a short plane ride, the next morning I'll get on it's a 5:30 a.m. flight, and I'll fly to my game, and then go to the game and work the sidelines, and then fly home. So sometimes I get on a plane, a red eye at like 1 a.m., and I'll land at 8, and then I go right to the stadium. I mean, it's not easy, but it's 2 jobs that I love so much, and both organizations are very understanding about each other and helping me navigate doing both. And I feel super privileged for that and very appreciative of how generous they are allowing me the opportunity to be on both the sideline and a UFC broadcast. So yeah, it is a very tiring few months from September until February, but I'm very lucky and it's super fun. It's so different than UFC that it just like makes it a really unique experience every week.
When you do the full season, like, do you cover a specific team or a specific city?
Yeah, no. So that's the other wild thing is I will be all over the place. Like, I have the Detroit Lions week 1, so I'll be in Detroit for the first week, and then I'll be in Arizona for the second week. And
do you have the whole schedule already?
No. That's where it gets really tricky. So we'll get a couple of weeks at a time. Right now, I only have the first 2. But later in the season, they have something called flex games, where different networks can decide to take certain games. So we sometimes, around Christmas or around the holidays, we sometimes won't know where we're going until like 3 or 4 days before we go. So it can get a little spicy with flights and, and of course I always want Joe and Vito to come whenever they can. And so it's just about like making good decisions as soon as we find out where they are. But yeah, it's crazy. It is not like, UFC, I know where I'm going to be through January. Yeah. It's definitely not like that. So it adds like a little bit of anxiety, but also a lot of excitement.
Have you missed a pay-per-view card because of NFL season?
No. So that's the one thing with NFL and UFC is, talking to both of them, they're both very understanding, but UFC is the priority. So if there is, for instance, last year, my crew did a game in Madrid, Spain, and it was the weekend of the Madison Square Garden fight. So there was no way to fly from New York City to Spain in time. And so I couldn't go to Spain. And so Fox is very understanding about that. And then, UFC is great about my, flexibility. But when it comes to pay-per-views, those are the priority.
But if it was possible, you would have covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times I'll leave a pay-per-view or, now numbered event and go to the airport and take like a 1:30 a.m. flight. I've had layovers and then I make it just in time for the game. I mean, it's crazy. People think like, oh, it must be glamorous or you're on like a nice plane. No, I am just getting changed in the airport bathroom. Yeah.
Other than that, like when you said the full season, but when it comes to playoffs, less teams, less games, but the same amount of reporters.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah, so then that's where I step back, and those are like the bigger reporters, like Aaron Andrews, and then of course
you are the biggest.
Oh, you're very kind, thank you. But our Pam Oliver, like some of the higher crews, they'll do those games, and then I can kind of take a breath. And last year, the first week that I would have had off from NFL was a numbered event, so I just went right back to UFC, and I think I worked like 22 weeks in a row. So yeah.
Okay, last question about the NFL.
Yeah.
We have to
I love it.
We have to talk about UFC, but when you compare covering both NFL and UFC, being a woman or being like young, or which one is harder? Can you compare? Is there anything that it is the same or totally different?
I think there's a lot of similarities because the athletes are pretty similar. Like I always say, like an athlete is an athlete. They are focused on winning. They don't necessarily want to do interviews or answer questions, but they will. And I think the more that you can show them you're not going to waste their time and you are trustworthy, then I think the more they'll open up to you. But in terms of like my job and being a woman, I think they both come with unique challenges, but most of the sideline reporters in the NFL are women. So it's kind of like women's way to get into the game. And so I think players are a little bit more used to seeing that. But now I do think with the UFC and what the reporter role looks like now for us, fighters see us around so much. They see us do interviews on TV. So they kind of know like, oh, that's who I hope I can talk to if I win. So I think nowadays is a little bit easier than maybe it was even 10 years ago for Evelyn and I and other women too. But I just think everybody tries to open the space. Other reporters, other journalists, we all just try to help each other, both in the NFL and in UFC. And it definitely makes a huge difference when you work around people who want to see you succeed as much as they want to succeed. That's really helpful. I don't know if people know this, but in the NFL, each team has a reporter. So I'm on the network, which is Fox, and then each team will have their own reporter. What I love to do is make sure that I'm sharing whatever information I can with the team reporter because I go to both sidelines and they can only stay with their team. True. So they'll tell me if I missed something. So we kind of like sometimes I even bring them snacks at halftime or whatever. I just try to have like a good relationship with them because at the end of the day, we can't look at an entire football field. But if we can kind of help each other out or make sure, oh, did you know that this happened last week? You might not have seen it or whatever. That's where it's helpful. And that's the same thing like Evelyn and I do, Carolyn Pierce and I do. All of us will kind of talk like, hey, I just interviewed so-and-so and they told me this or that, or, oh, last week, did you know about this? And we always try to help each other because you can't do it alone. And so it's a lot easier when you have a community.
Perfect. Big shout out to Alan E. and Amy Kaplan. I forgot to tell them. Yeah.
Helen Yee and Amy Kaplan also. Oh my gosh, I feel like terrible. There's so many people.
Forgot.
No, there's so many people that are worthy of like hour-long shows about their greatness, and those are two of them. Always have been so welcoming and supportive, but also they're so fun. Their interviews are so creative. They are always themselves, and they ask these great questions that you never would have thought of. I love them. I feel like we honestly have so many great women in our UFC orbit. That's really awesome.
I've seen Amy Kaplan saving some media days already with her questions.
Yes, exactly. Especially now that they're different, where it's just like one at a time in front of everybody instead of the old scrums. Yeah.
Megan, let's go. UFC NFL, busy schedule, you travel, you fly, but you're also a mom.
Yeah.
The last year, how challenging is that for you?
It's definitely the craziest schedule, exhaustion that I've ever had, but it is the best thing that's ever happened. We prayed and prayed for Vito, and God blessed us with a baby, and he is the best. It's the best thing I will ever have in my life, and no matter how tired I am or whatever it might be, as soon as I see that face, I'm just like, oh, this is the greatest. I'm not tired at all, and he's so wonderful. He's just the happiest kid, and he's healthy. And when you have a healthy child, you have everything. And so I just feel so lucky that I get to be his mom. And Joe is such a good dad. We're really lucky that Joe's retired now. So one of us is always with him. Even if I'm working, Joseph is with him. And then we have a great babysitter who's from Brazil.
No way.
Yes, Jess. Jess is part of the family. Vito definitely speaks and understands more Portuguese than I ever will.
I love that.
Yeah, she only speaks Portuguese to him, which is great. I told her,
Please.
I want him to hit that part of his brain to always fire. And so it's amazing. But being a mom is, was my dream forever. And everyone says it's the best thing that ever happened to you. It really is. And I don't care about anything else except Vito. Everything else, career-wise, opportunities, they can come and go. That's fine. As long as my son is healthy and taken care of, that's all that matters.
Everything's for him,
Yes,
to him now.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I believe he doesn't travel with you. No.
Oh, no, he comes quite a bit, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he comes quite a bit. He comes to almost every numbered event. He's been on a million planes. He used his passport already. His first trip was to Vancouver for my first UFC back from maternity leave.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's a great traveler. He loves a hotel. So he does really well. And then when I'm at work, Joseph will take him to a museum or for walks or to go eat food, crazy food wherever we are. And so he does really well. He's not coming to Philadelphia, but he'll probably be at the rest of the shows that I'm at throughout the year. And he comes to some football games, which is really cool too. So yeah, very lucky.
Spoiled kid.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna not even understand what a privilege it is to be able to do some of these things. But it's been cool, like seeing all the fighters want to hold him as a baby, Nog wanted to hold him, and then Joanna took him from Nog and was like, no, I want to hold, it's like, Vito, do you understand these legends that are just hanging around you? So it's really cool.
So your whole schedule, of course, you base your schedule on him, trying to stay close with him and everything. But you mentioned Joe, who, for those who doesn't know, Megan Olivi is married with Joseph Benavides, former UFC fighter. Amazing fighter, amazing person. He was always nice to me.
Thank you.
Now he doesn't fight. I believe that makes easier for you because when he was a professional athlete, high level, the schedule would be impossible for you both.
Yeah, it was, and we always say, how lucky are we that we get to be with our son? I don't know how fighters do it. I don't know how fighters' wives and partners do it when you have a young baby and someone who is actively competing and then the other person's still working. I mean, it's crazy. You have to have a lot of help. We don't have any family here, so we're extra lucky to have Jess, a couple times a week. And then, we're very fortunate that if I'm not on the road, I'm at home. So even if I'm doing Zoom calls or fighter meetings on the computer or whatever, I can still have Vito and it's fine. That's not the case for everybody, but we're so lucky because of it. And I feel like he gets so much extra attention, and he's so happy because he doesn't have to worry what is life like without mom and dad all the time.
Was part of the plan, let's wait until Joseph retires so we can have a baby?
A little bit. Only Joe and I knew he was retiring. We kind of kept it to ourselves that it was going to be his last fight, but we had a really hard time actually having Vito. We had a lot of loss, a lot of struggles in terms of getting and staying pregnant. And so it was a really, really challenging few years. And lots of UFC broadcasts where there was absolute heartbreak happening for me. And I'm still just, I have to smile and be on camera. But so that's why I say when we prayed and prayed for Vito and we were blessed with him, and it was just the greatest thing ever because it was years of us wanting to be parents.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's okay. That's okay. I mean, honestly, I don't know how I would have survived without people like Evelyn. She held my hand through all the good and bad moments. And then every single thing I could ask her throughout pregnancy and motherhood, I have asked her, and she has answered within seconds. I honestly couldn't do it without her. Like I know people in Brazil know how great she is at her job, and I think she's probably the best in the world. And I don't want to cry, but she is probably one of the best human beings I've ever known. And the things that she does for other people, like, that don't help her.
Yeah.
You know, they're just because she's that good. I feel so lucky. I honestly, there would have been days I didn't show up for work if it wasn't for Evelyn.
Oof. Let me take a water. Let me take a
Sorry.
water.
Yeah, she's the best. We're so lucky to know her.
Evelyn came here and she shared the same kind of story before. She spoke about that here in the podcast. It's beautiful that you guys have each other, to be honest. Even though American, Brazilian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
We're so lucky, and she's got her wonderful son Max, who is just an absolute doll. And I don't know how she does it. She does it all. And she's not just on air. She's also like producing so much and writing so much. I mean, she's just unbelievable. So we're super lucky. There's a pretty close-knit group of us. You know, and it's nice to know we have each other to lean on, especially, you know how it is. Sometimes you work an event and it's like, life doesn't stop just because like there's a great fight happening, you know? And so to be able to talk to somebody about things, and like I said, to share those really great moments and also those really hard moments, even when Joseph was fighting, well before Vito was even a twinkle in our eyes, when Joe was fighting, you know, Evelyn would hold my hand and Carolyn would hold my hand, and they would tell me like, he's going to be great. He's going to be great. And they meant it, you know, like you need those people in your life, especially when you're on the road all the time and away from your normal surroundings.